Welcome to our We Are All Human plus IBM Latinos of Impact webinar. Today's topic is navigating your skills in the ever-evolving digital landscape. My name is Catherine Grace Trevino. I'm a Z-Brand Technical Specialist here at IBM and a proud Latina born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley. I have the honor to be moderating today's event and to share the floor with three passionate and inspiring esteemed tech Latino leaders. Today, we have Dr. Brisa Quiroz. Dr. Brisa Quiroz is the University Relations Lead for Microsoft, supporting Hispanic-serving institutions and historically Black colleges. Their model is to work with internal Microsoft stakeholders to help Microsoft's overall relationship with each university with successful interactions that include joint research projects, speaking with students, and discussions with professors on areas of interest. Dr. Quiroz's professional career is centered on serving as a bridge between her passion for STEM and community outreach and education. Her ultimate goal is to empower every student to succeed in college and especially help increase recruitment and retention of students in higher education, including low-income and minority groups. Dr. Quiroz has a BS degree in industrial engineering, an MS degree in industrial technology, and a PhD in environmental science and engineering. Brisa currently serves on the steering committee for Engineer Girl of the National Academy of Engineering. She was the president of Society of Women Engineers San Joaquin Valley section and was on the board of directors for the ASEE Corporate Industry Partnership Division. We have Jesus Mantas. Jesus Mantas is the global managing partner in IBM Consulting, responsible for business transformation services. He leads the global team of IBM professionals helping clients design, transform, and operate their mission-critical business processes, integrating technology with consulting expertise to accelerate their digital transformations. He is known for depth in both technology and business transformation and for his commitment to leadership development and advocating for the Hispanic community. Jesus serves on IBM's performance, acceleration, and technology leadership teams and is the Emeritus Chair of IBM's Hispanic Diversity Council. He is an independent director of Biogen Inc., a leading biotechnology company focused on neuroscience. He is a member of the World Economic Forum's Global AI Council and serves on the board of High Tech, a nonprofit focused on leadership development of Hispanic technology executives. Jesus holds degrees in telecommunications, software engineering, and business administration by Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, was an adjunct professor at the University of California, Irvine, and served as an officer in the Air Force of Spain. And last but definitely not least, we have Jose Mora. Jose Mora is a trailblazer, DACA recipient, and a proud immigrant from Acapulco, Mexico. Having grown up in San Francisco, he decided to stay in this vibrant city to pursue a bachelor's degree in a communication study at San Francisco State University in 2015. His journey into the tech industry began through a workforce development program called Year Up. Jose served as the board chair for the Alumni Association from 2017 through 2019 and sat on the board of directors for Year Up Bay Area, where he continued to advance the Year Up alumni movement. Working at Salesforce for 7 years, one of Jose's deepest passions is giving back to underserved communities who aspire to enter the tech field. He takes pride in working for the Trailblazer community team as a community manager to evangelize Salesforce products and technology while offering free training and networking opportunities to everyone. Whew, what a panel do we have today. I am so excited to hear from each of these inspiring leaders. Today's topic of evolving technologies, such as AI, especially AI, has been all the rage. What we know about AI now is drastically different than what we knew last year. We're in a world where AI is rapidly changing how we do business and the way that we solution. So this leads me to my first question, and I'm going to hand it to Jesus first, and then Jose, if you could follow. How important is the ability to adapt to change and embrace lifelong learning in the tech industry? And as a follow-up, do you have an example on how a growth mindset and adding on to your skill set propelled your career to where it is today?
I think it's critical in our industry. First, welcome everybody, and thank you for spending time with us. We're delighted to be here. In the technology industry, many industries are fast-paced of change, but the technology industry is an ever-changing, very, very quick pace. So it's really important to stay relevant in the industry that we are constantly learning. I would say the number one skill that predicts success in our industry is not what you know, but how quickly can you learn. So it's really important for everybody to develop this, I would say, exercise your curiosity. Learning typically happens when you're curious, when you naturally develop the habit of asking, well, how does that work? Or why does that happen? Or what's your name? It's like in every aspect of your life, the more curious you are, the more likely you are to learn. The more likely you are to learn, then you don't see that as a burden. You see that as like a daily habit. And I think that that's a key predictor of success in many industries, but definitely in the technology industry. And again, AI is one of many waves of accelerating that change that has come in our industry. With respect to your point of growth mindset, I think it's really important because naturally we tend to fear what we don't know, and we tend to fear change. We are designed to be creatures of habit, and therefore when you're very good at something, and you're known for being very good at something, it becomes it becomes fearful when somebody says, well, maybe that's something that you're really good at. It's not going to be that relevant going forward because there is a new thing that is coming up. And you have two natural reactions to that. The natural reactions is the fixed mindset, which is you hang on to what you have. You don't want to lose it. You hang on to your job. You hang on to your position. You hang on to that thing. And what you're trying to do is to defend all of that. That's the fixed mindset. The growth mindset, which is more the curiosity, is kind of like embrace that change and saying, okay, well, how could I learn faster that new world and then be as relevant or even more relevant in the new world that you could do right now? And that over history, there is a lot of examples of people that have done that very well. There's there is an example, for example, of back 50 years ago, being a computer was actually a job. It was not a thing. There were people that their job was to actually sit down and compute mathematics. And then this thing came out, which was a computer. And some people decided, well, wait a minute, why don't we learn the language? And therefore figured out how to use this machine to make even more sophisticated calculations. And some people did that, and some people just hang on to it and said, no, the machine will never be as good as, because I'm really, really good at my computation. And I think history said that the people that use that change and the tooling made better than the people that hang on to it. So I think it's really, really important to develop this habit of growth mindset. It is I wouldn't say anti-natural, but it's anti-instinctive. What is instinctive, what is encoded in our being, is the fight or flight response to threats. A change, very quickly we evaluate if it is a threat or not. If it is a threat, you either fight that threat or you wait, you fly, you basically leave the threat. That's the natural reaction. The natural reaction to a change of a human being is to go back, to lean back and be on fixed mindset. So it requires a lot of willingness and creativity and that habit of being curious to convince your instinct of resisting, and then get yourself into this idea of like, well, that new future, even though it's very scary and I think it could be a threat to my job, but maybe that could be a lot better. How could I make it better? How do I learn more? How do I evaluate it? How do I navigate it? I think the more that we can adopt that mindset, I think the better the probability of success.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. Something that came to my mind when you said that is the saying of be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so I think having that, even if it's a little bit of underlying fear, being able to get out of that comfort zone will open so many doors. So thank you for sharing that, Jesus. Jose?
Definitely. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Jesus. I was smiling as you were answering because I could never see myself as a computer. Growing up, math was just not my thing. But I'm glad we're not talking about math today, and I'm excited about this topic to just share this stage with such incredible speakers. For me, adapting to new technologies is like a superpower in the tech field. Staying informed, keeping up with all of the emerging technologies and tools that are coming out, it's essential, and it's very important that you not be afraid. Very similar to what Jesus says, is not be afraid, but embrace technology. And we're talking about AI and data, generative AI, all of these new tools that are coming out. And there's a fear right now, there's a stigma that it's going to take over our jobs, it's going to take over potentially the world. And it is a scary fact. It's the unknown. But if you're not really sinking and having some deep roots, analyzing where it's going, how it's going to change the way businesses are running, organizations, unfortunately, you will be left behind. And that's something that I don't want my community to do. It's to definitely stay informed, stay up to date. And adaptability really goes hand in hand with lifelong learning. I shared a little bit about my story. I immigrated when I was 6 years old to the United States, and for me, everything was a new change. And I never thought myself that I could be working at Salesforce in tech. That was just not in my future. But it was until I made the conscious choice to not put myself in a box, but instead take the courage and leadership and the training that I needed to really make that decision. That's when my door really opened. I was fortunate to join the Year Up program that gave me an internship at Salesforce, where I currently work. But lifelong learning, it continues. And it's very important because you really get to learn about yourself. And for me, one of the things that I got to learn, aside from just the technology skills that you eventually will learn, but it's also the soft skills and the personal skills, is who you want to be as a person, how you want to represent yourself, and you're always going to be faced with new challenges and new ways that you can better yourself. So think about what those growth areas are and attend workshops, go to networking events. I'm telling you, I in high school, I wanted so badly to work in tech, to work in the financial district, and I had no connections. And I wanted to tap a stranger on the shoulder and say, "Hey, how did you do it? What did you do?" I think it's taking those steps and those courage, those moments of courage, that really just open the door for you. So I definitely encourage you all to stay up to date with technology, definitely be a lifelong learner, and embrace it. Don't be afraid.
Thank you, Hossein. Thank you for sharing a glimpse of your journey as well. I think our community should really pride ourselves in becoming forever students because, like you said, a lot of us are trailblazers, whether in our family, whether in the corporations that we're working in, even in history still, we are trailblazing new paths for our community to continue to follow or even start blazing their own. So being a forever student is so critical for our community of trailblazers. So thank you. And speaking of our community, I wanted to ask Brisa, while we are growing and adapting to new skills, how can we utilize our Latinidad to thrive in our new opportunities?
So I agree with Jose and Jesus. I think my superpower is being a learner, but I call it like productive chisme, and that's why Kat and I we get acquainted because, and I agree also about networking. I think when I was a student, I was shy, like I wouldn't get the microphone. English is my second language. I always felt like, oh, I'm not there yet. So I think using the productive chisme, this is how it has helped me at Microsoft. I think us Latinos, we're naive, but it's a good thing to have sometimes. I'm telling you, before Microsoft, I was engineering faculty, so it's academia is different from the corporate world. So I joined Microsoft and I wanted to connect with other Latinos. So this is how I use my Latinidad. Hey, I see someone that I think is Latino, I'm going to reach out. At Microsoft, there is a directory, so I was able to connect with people. And now that I know the protocols, it's like, wow, I reach out to this person that and they made time for me. This is the good thing about us is like we're reaching out because we really want to connect. It's not that we have a hidden agenda. It's just I was genuinely happy to connect with other Latinos because again, we're not that many in corporate America. So I use that my Latinidad. I always think of myself, I'm an engineer who happens to be female and Latina, right? When I was engineering instructor, of course, I have a lot of Latinos, Latinas asking me questions. Risa, how do you handle this? How do you handle stress? And for me, it was really important to empower, especially female students. I was in Central California, which is super rural. Um, a lot of the parents they're working in the fields. I have shared this with other people that I'm from Mexico, but I never felt more Mexican until I moved to Central California because that's hard work. Like being in the fields when it's 100 degrees or more, uh, mathematics or doing calculus, yeah, it's tough, but it's not as tough, right? So I have a lot of respect for people working in the field, and our students, they feel that maybe I'm not good enough. For me, it's like even today, I was like, I'm going to dress up. I'm a Latina. I like high heels. I like makeup, and I empower my students being that role model, right? Being a PhD in engineering as a female Latina, I'm only the only one in the room, but I want people to notice me. Like if I need to be wearing red so they can um, treat me with respect, that's okay. But it's not the respect just because being a woman, it's because I have my brain, that's my talent. So again, everything goes back to the growth mindset, like being a learner. And I think that's something that we all Latinos have, the perseverance, the grit. We never say, I don't know how to do this. On the contrary, it's like, hey, let me work, let me learn. So I think this is something that how can we use the Latino growth mindset that we're always willing to learn.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I heard that a lot in college, like your Latinidad is your superpower. And I was like, what? I didn't really understand it until I actually came into corporate. And I realized that not only is our culture so powerful for the culture of the corporation and for the environment, but our diverse perspective drives creativity. I'm also an engineer by trade, so it drives that creativity, which in turns drives innovation. So I definitely agree with you, and thank you for sharing. So now I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into our hot tech topic, which is AI. And this question is for Jesus. As the integration of AI becomes more prevalent in various industries, professionals are encountering new challenges and obstacles in adapting to this technology. So the key question is, are there any specific challenges or barriers that professionals commonly face when adopting AI? And how can they overcome them? And to expand on this question, how can professionals ensure that they're using AI responsibly?
The new wave of AI, which is generative AI and foundation models, has actually eliminated most of those obstacles. I mean, there's 100 million people using ChatGPT, so that tells you there is not a lot of obstacles, right? It's very easy to use. It's very easy to embed in any other areas. So the obstacles have more to do when you try to use this technology in a business environment. Then you have to be, as you said, more responsible in which data you're going to use with these models. You can't just use random data and assume that random data in the internet is the truth, right? So then you have to better understand how these models get trained and what data is trained, and make sure that that data is fit for purpose. It is truthful, it's factual, it doesn't contain bias. A lot of that is required if you want to responsibly use this technology, right? So that's the first element of it. Then the second element is how do you actually include AI into your workflow, right? So how do you actually use it? How do you take advantage of it? Are you going to use it to compose things? Are you going to use it to classify things? Are you going to use it to automate things? So So deciding what I think is the insertion point, where to do exactly what. And I think the big mistake that most people do is they think too high level. They think, oh, I'm going to use AI for procurement. Well, that's the same thing that if I would tell you, Catherine, I'm going to go pick you up in the ocean. Like, okay, like that's 70% of the earth. What ocean, what beach, what place, where am I going to meet you, right? So most people are very high level. AI doesn't really do very well at high level. You have to bring it down to the task and the very specific help that is going to give you. Is it going to, help you write a letter? Okay, well, that's a very specific thing. It's not just procurement, right? Is it going to help you select a supplier? Is it going to help you read that contract? Is it going to help you? What is it going to help you? So bring it down to the very pragmatic flow of the work. And then make sure that it is being used appropriately in the way that, for example, you want to make sure that the tool is helping people make decisions or do their jobs. If you're going to intend to replace people, then you have to consider that many of these tools will have biases. And some of those decisions, they're not acceptable to be done by an unattended machine that can drift, that can kind of like basically be making bad decisions or making biased decisions. So always make sure that you have a human in the loop in the appropriate use cases where the decisions carry a consequence is very important. If you're using AI to find faces on a picture and the AI fails to find a face on the picture, there is no consequence. But if you're using AI to approve, an insurance claim, then there is a consequence if you let the AI do that. So you have to basically use it always as a tool, but making sure that the person is using the tool to make a better decision, not just to replace that decision.
Thank you, Jesus. And I think it's very important that we ask these questions and talk about these, the biases to ensure that our community is prepared for what the future holds, because AI is the future, and it's better that we understand and learn and educate ourselves. And like you said, have that human touch to our AI models. So I definitely agree. And I know we touched on this before. I know Jesus talked about this, and Jose, you talked about this too, how there's been like an underlying fear of the topic of AI. And we just talked about, losing jobs to AI. I've seen this all over social media, like AI is taking our jobs, and everybody is kind of those on fire everywhere. So it's not only a fear of cybersecurity now, but the fear of job security. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure. Oh, sorry.
Not to interrupt, I just wanted to say I also saw something very similar today, just a quick plug, and about losing the fear to AI, and that is jobs. People will not lose their jobs because of AI. They will lose it to the people who are using AI technology. And so if you start switching that narrative, like, I don't want to lose my job, let me switch and let's use AI to further my career, my job, whatever I need to do. I think that's the mindset that has helped me at least swallow that pill.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it goes back to what Jesus was saying, using AI as a tool, right? Instead of and thinking it like that. So definitely. So we wanted to provide there's job openings and career resources in the About section on our channel for IBM, Microsoft, and Salesforce. So if you look below, you can find that there. And our team will also provide them in the chat. So we also wanted to tie this into our next question. How can individuals identify the most relevant skills to acquire for their specific career goals? And where are we seeing these future opportunities for the Hispanic community?
I'm really excited to answer this question, just to think about how our Latinx population can really take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. I would say beyond the traditional tech roles, as Brisa was mentioning, there's artificial intelligence, there's data science, cybersecurity. And the reality is, like, there's a ton of opportunity, but we lack representation in tech. So I think it's definitely our time to change that narrative. And I put myself in the shoes of baby Jose. I was back in high school super terrified of the world, everything. I wasn't sure where I was going to go in my career, the types of jobs that I was going to be doing. And I worked at a restaurant for 7 years, and I kid you not, those are transferable skills. Being able to quickly have like time management to run around the whole restaurant, have really good organizations to track down every single thing. You can even start thinking about it like project phases. I have to get to this table first before I get there. I have to make sure I'm checking in on them. So there's time management, customer experience, like customer one-to-one relationships. I took all of that and you transfer them to then your next role. And again, I was put in a role where I was in the facilities world, helping out large office reconfigurations, learning about floor plans, architecture. And this was a career that I did not sign myself up for, but it was the experience that I signed myself up for. And it was that experience that then landed me a role at Salesforce. I had applied to this company about like 6 times and was denied 6 times. But it's okay because it was those learning opportunities, taking those skills and then marrying them to your career, to your job, aligning it to your passions. And again, I wasn't sure where I would be, but it was these experiences that landed me to where I am today. So don't ever feel like you're not there yet because this opportunity or where you are at right now could be the stepping stone for your next career. And so I definitely say, and it all goes back to life learning, right? Like you take it all back and then you learn something new, meet new people, and you continue. So definitely huge champion for that.
Yeah, thank you, Hosen. I could definitely relate on that. I also applied to IBM a number of times. I don't even want to say the number of times and got denied all of the time, but it was that one yes that got me here, and I've been here ever since. So yeah, always persistence is key, and having that confidence in yourself to keep trying and trying and trying, no matter how many times.
I would add like what Jose mentioned. You need to find your passion. Like for example, I like food. I like cars. I have been to Edwards Air Force Base, and I thought like cars, planes, they're the same. They're not. So maybe, yeah, we have the skills. Maybe I'm really good at math, which I am, but I don't like teaching math. I don't like, I'm really good at chemistry and people, they don't know that. That's why like I like quantum material science. So you need to find it, okay, this is what I like. Maybe I'm really good at math, but it doesn't mean that's my perfect job. And at Microsoft, when I joined Microsoft, I said how to create the perfect Cheeto because Microsoft and PepsiCo, they were working on something that really engineering with, so it's like things like that for me, like because I like food, like who doesn't like Cheetos, right? So this is again like things that I think my talent or my skill is be the communicator, the chismosa, but in a good way, right? Like bringing attention to, I think these are really cool jobs, and this is what we need in the Latino community. I was talking about sustainability. I think we all have the drive to help, to collaborate. I think sustainability is it's a huge market right now, and we need more Latinos. I agree with that. But in any other fields like cyber, like people think it's only engineering. No, in business we need cyber, like lawyers. Like now that I'm in Microsoft, it's like the engineer cannot step in until a lawyer approves that, yeah, you can solve this problem because who's at fault, right? So we have that, like maybe we have expertise that we come from other countries, and we can bring that to corporate America.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that is a really great skill to have is being able to explain these opportunities, these new technologies at different levels. So being able to say, how can we explain quantum computing to a 10-year-old so that they could already start grasping concepts and start getting that interest, that fire in them, so we could prepare our future generation, because there's so much happening so fast that if we're able to allow them the tools and resources to learn and get excited about it, it would be so great for the
Actually,
future.
there is a cool video with Keanu Reeves and Paul Rudd and Stephen Hawking. So these are the videos that they're already there, but you need to take it like to students to like, hey, maybe that will give you a glimpse, but there are videos there.
Exactly like that, where they could see like Paul Rudd and Quantumania and be like, okay, what is quantum? What is quantum computing? What is AI? So definitely, I think that's really important. So I wanted to pivot this to Jesus. You recently co-authored an article on 7 strategic bets, IBM's 7 strategic bets. And I was wondering if you could briefly explain what the 7 strategic bets are, and how would you recommend a college student or a young professional wanting to pivot in their career to use that as a source of information to plan for their future?
Last year, mid-year, we really created a small, very small group that I led to answer the question, what are the trends in the next 3 years that we can predict? There is a lot of things that you cannot predict, but if we really look around the corner and if we could predict a set of business and technology related trends, what are those? But most importantly, as you know, they say success is not about what you know, it's about what you do with what you know. So if you know highly likely trends that are going to happen, what are the bets that you should be making now to be in a better position when those trends happen, right? So it's kind of like interesting. If you know what the lottery numbers are going to be tomorrow, well, that's great. What do you do? Well, you buy those lottery numbers before tomorrow, right? If you just know them and when you listen to them in TV, it's like, yeah, I knew them. I knew those numbers. Then it really doesn't matter. And a lot of people confuse those two things. You know, they love to explain, yeah, I knew that, but it's like, well, did you do something to benefit? And the answer is no. So that's what this piece called 7 bets is. We didn't decide that it was 7. Is in the whole process that we did, 7 emerge, and roughly have to do, the first one have to do with the ever increasing percent of value created in industry by technology. So if you would take the market capital of the top 500 companies 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and now, you would see that the percent of that market capital that is formed by technology companies is a lot more. But because of that is creating brand new risks and brand new opportunities. And therefore, people need to understand those risks and those opportunities. And the 3 elements that we talked about are AI as the leading technology that is going to change how it works. It creates a lot of opportunities, but it creates a lot of new risks. Like we talked about, the risk of biases, the risk of privacy, the risk of IP infringement, the risk of job losses, all of those things. The other one is cybersecurity. Where the cybersecurity surface of attack is ever increasing, and the cost of those attacks is ever increasing. So what do you do about that? And the third one is quantum, which both has an opportunity, material science, and it has a risk, which is the most widely used encryption methods within the decade is likely that it could be broken by quantum computing. So that was the first bet about more technology is part of business. Therefore, you need to understand these trends, and the bet is make sure you understand what are you going to do in AI, create skills. What are you going to do in cybersecurity? Implement more zero trust strategies. And what are you going to do in quantum? It's like whatever it is, if it is 0, is a bad answer, right? Second one is that every product and service of every industry is becoming a digital product and service. Your bank account is not a bank account, it's a digital product. Your credit card is not a credit card, it's a digital product. Frankly, your car is not a car, it's a digital product. So when you do that, if that is the trend, what does it imply? What that implies is we have been working for a millennia, right? Actually, you could say both. 5,000 years, humankind has been perfecting the goods supply chain, the value chain of assembling goods and creating products. Well, if every product is going to be a digital product, now there is a stealth software supply chain that is being formed at the same time as that physical supply chain. But very few people are talking about that. And it is as complex, as critical as your physical supply chain. So that becomes your bet. It's like you need to be investing on the software supply chain as much as you would invest in the physical supply chain. There's another trend that we saw, which is experience. How we create experiences matters more than anybody thinks in every industry. So the same thing that I said about products, you can say about experience. A car is not a car anymore. It's an experience. A bank account is not a bank account anymore. It's an experience. Like every actual product and service is being an experience that gets powered by digital technology. But very few companies are great at the process of creating amazing experiences. I mean, if you haven't been in entertainment, if you haven't been in media, you don't know how to do that. But every industry is going to have to learn to do that. Well, it so happens that it's really hard to do because you have to put together creative people with, if you want, functional people. And the way they work, the way they think, the way they behave is totally different. So you just put them together, and it's like oil and water. It doesn't mix. You need to learn new mechanisms to put them together. So that is the bet. How do you basically embed design thinking into everything you do? How do you actually retrofit new ways of thinking to get creatives and non-creatives into your products and services? How do you reorganize around a product and not a function? So many things that you do that. I'll go quickly on the others. Took a little bit of a shot at the metaverse, and we were contrarians in this for a long time. We did not see enough of a pain for the metaverse to solve in the B2B world. It became a giving point. So our bet was not on the metaverse. We thought that instead of trying to bring people out of the real world into a virtual world, we thought that the trend that would win is to bring technology into the real world. So we are going to fuse technology and people, and we're going to create augmented environments. But we think the one that creates value right now is by bringing the technology and blending it with the physical world. So augmented reality is the bet that we make on that. That is the one that we provide. We have one on sustainability, which is a lot of people for the last 3 years kind of raised their hands and made a lot of promises. And now, 3 years later, it's like, now what? Now what? You know? And, frankly, the other side of the argument is like, okay, you're talking a lot about sustainability, but how about profit? You have to do both. You can't just like not do one with the other. So our bet there is like, don't feel there is a false decision to be made between sustainability and profit. It's an and, not an or. You have to prioritize, the projects and the elements of the roadmap, make it operational in a way that you improve profit at the same time as you advance on your roadmap of sustainability. We had a trend on the realignment of the global fabric, so the reglobalization of the relationships between countries, between companies, the reshoring of the manufacturing, and how do you play on that? And the last one was around the fact that we believe that skill scarcity, even with AI, would continue. Like specialized jobs would continue. And the math was very clear is, even today, after many millions of people, have been laid off, we still don't have unemployment, and we still have more open technical jobs that we can fill. All of that together with a post-pandemic mindset that is very different, right? Where we spend a lot of time in the past telling people about work-life balance as if there is a wall between work and life. And the pandemic blended it, and there is no way back. So now we're telling people the bet is you have to think of work-life integration. How do you actually integrate it? Because the pandemic already forced all of us to do that. So those are the 7 bets, how people could use it. This Anchorage admin is in the internet. You can read them. You don't need to read them all, but the one that is interesting for you, you can read the trend, is substantiated with a lot of data. And then you can see the bets that we think if you do them now, in the next 3 years, it would position you better to benefit from that trend.
Thank you. And we'll have that article linked in the About section in the channel. I thought it was incredibly interesting. So I was so happy that Jesus was able to come on and to give us a brief, because I think even as a young professional, seeing these bets that our corporate leaders are talking about and for them to share it and give us that perspective, it really helps you prioritize on where you would like to reskill or just add on to your skill set for the future. So I personally work in mainframe, and our Z16 has an AI accelerator on the Telum chip. So I was already so excited to see AI on there and ready to start adding some more AI skills. So I'm hoping that all the audience who is listening, especially students, if you are listening and want to start adding on to your skill set and trying to learn, there's so many wonderful resources available online, which we will get to at the end of this webinar. So thank you so much for joining and sharing that, Jesus. I really appreciate that. And so for our next one, I wanted to talk about strong sense of community and progression of skills. So Jose, you're a trailblazer, and can you explain a little bit about what being a trailblazer means? And can you share how you see the strong sense of community and networking affect your progression in career and skills?
Definitely. I love this question because I feel like a lot of us in this call can identify as a trailblazer. And a trailblazer is really somebody who is creating a path. And most importantly, you're blazing that path. You're a frontier, a pioneer, but you're leaving a legacy for others to follow. So you're also looking back and taking your community, and we're uplifting each other. So that's what a trailblazer is. And I definitely identify as a trailblazer. And it was really with the help of the community that I even was able to graduate from San Francisco State. As I mentioned, I am a DACA recipient, and in 2009, there were limited resources to help undocumented students. And I went on campus completely, again, super lost, a trailblazer for real. Um, went in and I had to find that community. And it was going to the Latino Services Network, being vulnerable, coming out as an undocumented student, like, I need help, like plain black and white. We don't have scholarships, we don't have tuition help, and oftentimes we're also paying international fees. And she connected me with someone really special in my life. Her name's Grace, and we were able to form the first undocumented support group on campus, where we had 5 individuals, then grow to 25. And the beautiful part is that we were advocating for student rights, for scholarships, for on-campus jobs, the same rights that every student on campus had. We were advocating for that and educating our faculties. So that was really important. And it was with the help of the community that I graduated from City College and then transferred to San Francisco State. And again, community through the Year Up program. I mentioned it, Catherine, you mentioned it earlier. Year Up is a nonprofit organization that helps young adults from ages 18 to 30 get trained in technology, project management, cybersecurity, and from there you get placed at a corporate internship and you graduate the program with a network of alumni. And there's over 30,000 alumni across the state, which means if I ever went to New York, I could easily hit up an alumni and say, hey, I'm in New York, let's meet up. You start thinking about the future more, and you start seeing that Europe has been around for a while now, I won't quote it. It's been a while for a while now. It's been on for a while now, over 10 years. But all of the alumni who started off in tech were in entry-level roles. You fast forward 5 years, they're now mid-level roles. You fast forward again, they're now executives, vice presidents. This alumni, this network is for you to use to your advantage. So definitely, if you're in community, stay with community, continue to build on your network. It's so, so, so very important. That's how I actually got my job. I was referred by a Europe connection. And I think that's why I was denied 6 times. It was really the referral that got me to the door. And that's so important for everybody on this call is definitely utilize your connections so that you can at least get your resume flagged and then you go out there and sell yourself. But definitely networking, community, super big.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard that saying, your network is your net worth. And I always say that to myself whenever I'm a little bit nervous to introduce myself to someone or go to networking events, because it can be a little daunting to go to networking events, especially as a young professional. But I always put that in the back of my mind, and especially that you could find connections everywhere. And it doesn't have to be a very formal mentor or sponsor, which we're going to be talking about in the next question. It could be a friend or someone that you've met at a ship event, Brisa, who we met together. So, Brisa, on this next question, and you did touch about this earlier on, how do you see the balance between technical skills and soft skills evolving in the tech industry? And this is just a question to follow up and expand. Can you tell us the difference of mentorship and sponsorship and provide us an example when you had a sponsor or was a sponsor for someone else?
So I'm going to address first the technical versus soft skills. I always think, well, I'm bilingual, but I'm bicultural. So I can be really approachable because I'm Latina, but I'm also really Americanized, business minded because I work with, before Microsoft, with 28 engineering firms. So talking to plant managers or presidents, like they don't have the time. I was a if I had to send an email or sometimes I had to ask, what is your preferred method of communication? A text, email, right? That's something that I think is really important in corporate America at school, and that's why I'm super like active mentoring and supporting students, especially at the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, because no one tells you that. So I think everyone as a students, we're so technical qualified, but like we don't pass the interviews because no one has the time to teach us that. Another thing that I want to mention that, yeah, we're investing all the companies a lot of money in recruiting Latino workforce, but we're not retaining the Latino workforce. So that's happening in every company. And why? Why we don't have these other mentors? So representation matters. So I'm going to talk now about mentors, right? It's impossible. I mean, I like helping a lot of people, but you need to be really, quality is better. So I always tell people, you don't need to help 20 students, right? Or even at your job, like if you see someone with potential, you need to reach out. I always speak to people because also like I need to be, if I really want to be a good mentor, you need to provide quality time, right? And also sometimes it's something that you as a mentor, you need to understand like, okay, I already help and I need to move on. Like it's difficult as Latinos saying no. I think that's the most difficult thing. No, I cannot help. No. So even a ship, like now I'm helping with, I'm going to attend NILA, right? The leadership training for the student presidents. That's I think when I can make more impact because they're transitioning into the workforce. Um, so I think that's really important to understand, how do I bring value? Other people, I can tell you, my youngest sister, like she doesn't understand why as a female Latina representation matters. So you don't need to be as engaged and passionate like you and Kat, that we're always trying to see, oh, Shiptinas. But if you don't have that passion, it's okay. But just be there when there is an interview, because having your last name Garcia Perez, it matters, right? So there are always different levels. So I always tell people, help in the matter that how you can help, but don't forget that you were that student. If companies are complaining that we don't have the prepared workforce, I always make the companies, okay, help me for mock interviews. And when I tell them, do you want to teach a class? Because that's hard, more at the community college level, teach a class. Like it's really hard. So you need to be in other people's shoes to understand before you can. It's okay having suggestions, but I like executing. So again, be really engineering in, okay, I can help 2 people, that's doable. Maybe next year that I don't have these many projects, I can do 3. So I always use time manager engineering, even with when I'm volunteering.
Thank you so much. I love your LinkedIn, Brisa. I think your LinkedIn is so awesome. You have a great following, and your posts are very impactful. So I wanted to ask you about this as well. How can individuals develop a personal brand or online presence that reflects their digital skills and expertise? And this could be open to everyone, because I know, Jesus, you also have a great presence on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to share any insights, I think right now we're in the digital age, and especially post-pandemic, where everybody was always networking online and virtually, the idea of having a personal brand online and showcasing your skills online became a very big topic. So can you share some of that insight and expertise?
I can start. Like, first, you need to find what is your preferred method, right? For me, LinkedIn helps because Twitter, I'm always in the chisme, so I don't have the time to be posting right away. My friend, she's an expert on TikTok. I don't like videos of like, that's not me, right? Instagram is really good, but I just take pictures of food, so I don't think well, LinkedIn is more professional, so I always post what it. I think I get to attend a lot of events, thanks God, but it's like I don't post anything unless I feel it in my heart that this is really cool, this is really important, that this is valuable information, right? A lot of people they tend to post a lot because they want attention, visibility. For me, I have people following me. I didn't know that I was going to be having followers, but I'm really authentic. I'm always trying to showcase others because this is what I care about. It's like going to Disneyland. I don't want to be alone to Disneyland. I want to be with my friends, right? So for me, again, the sense of community that I have is like I need to share these with the world. So, and I want to mention, I started using LinkedIn. I went to a cafecito in Fort Worth, and this señor gringo, he approached my mom, and he spoke Spanish. The mom was from Guatemala, and my mom bragging about her 3 daughters, engineers, blah blah blah. This guy told me, reach out to me, but use LinkedIn. So sometimes we have sponsors, we're talking about Y allies, because us, why do I need that? I have Facebook, right? Because all the mamas have Facebook. But this is professional. So I'm telling especially students, if you spend all this time on Instagram or TikTok, well, do the due diligence and use it in a right way professionally on LinkedIn. Plus, Microsoft LinkedIn, we're like um, sister, brothers, I don't know how to say, but its own. I didn't know that before joining Microsoft, but now it's they're trying for us to post more. But me, I always talk about Brisa, right? That happens to work for Microsoft, but it's more about the storytelling about the things that matter to me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so we actually have 6 minutes left, and I wanted to make sure that we were able to share some resources and some takeaways that we could give to our audience, something that they could take home and start learning and start studying these amazing ideas and skills that we've been talking about throughout this webinar. So I wanted to start with, what resources would you like to share, and what steps should organizations and educational institutions take to ensure they are preparing the workforce adequately for the future? And if there's any specific programs or initiatives that you think are essential to bridging the skills gap. So we could start with Jose, because I know that you mentioned before that you had some resources you want to share.
Sounds good. Thank you, Catherine. And just want to do a quick shameless plug to our Executive Vice President, Lori Castillo Martinez. She's also a Latinx leader, and she's leading the equality efforts. So that's the first resource that I want to share, is the equality.com website, where you can see all of our diversity initiatives that are happening at the company. And next, I want to talk about trailhead.com, which is a free online learning platform where you can hop on today, create an account, and start learning about data, AI, how to become a Salesforce administrator, developer, architect. The list goes on. There's a ton of free training, and it's all available to you 24 hours a day. Last is our trailblazercommunitygroups.com website. And this is where we have our trailblazers from all around the world. We have 94 countries, over 25 groups in each city who come together, learn Salesforce products and technology as a community. They're hosting meetings, having speakers, learning opportunities. And the beautiful part is that as a community, they are getting Salesforce certified and ultimately getting finding a career out there in the ecosystem. We touched on AI, and we are running an AI initiative where the leaders that I mentioned who are running these community groups are hosting free enablement AI sessions where you can start learning about generative AI by just joining a meeting. So this initiative is going on right now until September. So I strongly suggest you hop on trailblazercommunitygroups.com and join an event.
Thank you so much, Jose. And Brisa, you also have shared some resources. I wanted to let the audience know it is in the About section below on the channel. We have all of the links there, and we will also have a replay of this webinar in the playlist. So if you missed anything and want to see these resources and hear about them again, you will have the opportunity to do so. Jesus, do you have any resources or initiatives that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to give kudos to the IBM Skills Build organization. So if you go to skillsbuild.org, there is plenty of free capabilities. There is a lot of job skills, courses, credentials, all of them free. And there is a lot of content for learners. There's a lot of content for educators. There's a lot of content for organizations that they can reuse. It's part of the pledge that IBM did of really driving 25 million people to get skilled, and an investment of $250 million on the creation of those skills. So it's free, and I think, frankly, the main thing is there is plenty of content to be found. So content to learn is not the constraint. I think it's more the willingness and the curiosity of the people and the focus, right? Is like if you try to learn a little bit of everything, then maybe you know a little bit of everything, but they say is like if you try to focus on too many traits, you're a master of none.
Mhm.
I think it's important for everybody to just pick what is the thing that they want to do better than most. And the most important thing would be to align that with a passion that you have. So, because if you don't have that passion, then you're not going to invest the time. And if you don't invest the time, then somebody else will invest the time. And then over time, then you will be less competitive than anybody else. So you're not going to get the job. You're not going to get the opportunity. And you're going to wonder why. And it's the fact because you're trying to do something that somebody else is more passionate. The opposite is also true. If you're obsessed and passionate about something, you're always going to put an extra minute. You're always going to put an extra thing. And day after day, week after week, month after month, 5 years later, the gap between you and anybody else will be so big that nobody will be able to catch you, right? So I think it's super important for everybody to focus on their passion and build on that their depth. Be curious, but be focused on that one thing to always do a little bit extra. With enough time, you will be the most competitive on whatever your class is, your company, your environment, anything else. You're just going to be better than everybody else.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jesus. What a way to end this webinar. Thank you so much for being here today, panelists. What we heard today is that the digital landscape is always going to be changing, and we cannot have that fear and continue to be curious and be comfortable with the uncomfortable and have the support of our community, have a growth mindset, and allow ourselves to adapt to this new age to keep pace with change. If you missed any actionable items or would like to go back to watch our webinar, like I said before, it will be in the playlist section down below. All of the resources are down below. And I did want to share, which you could also find in the About section, is IBM is actively searching to fill the following executive roles. We have about 12 down in the About section, like Supply Chain Transformation Partner and others. We also have our contact if you're interested for any of those roles down below. For any students and professionals listening, if you're interested in IBM, Microsoft, Salesforce, we have a lot of career resources in the About section, and we are looking for you. Please find any job openings down there. It has been an amazing honor to be here with you all today to facilitate this conversation. Thank you again to the panelists to have this time to speak with us. I cannot say enough how impactful and just amazing your insights are to me, the audience, and to everyone. I just want to say thank you so much. And thank you for joining our webinar. We will be having another one this year, and come back to the channel to see when it will be. I think it's in October. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.